But
All right, well, good morning, everyone. Those of us who are really interested in hearing about the early years of Temple Sinai, we have one of the past presidents who was one of the founding members or charter members, whatever you want to be called, who was involved in a lot of the early history, Stu Goldfarb and his wife, Marilyn. So Stu, take it away. And he was a past president from 1998 to 2000. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Oh, I remembered that. Good.
Hey, by the way, before I get started, I want everybody to know, I know my picture's not up, but I have extra pictures on my screen, so I have to get rid of it. I was not one of the first founding five. I wasn't even 10 or 15, but I did join in 1991 after the service of beginning. And there was a lot of work done by a lot of people before I even joined, even though I am a charter member and a founding member. I was just early enough. And I thought, and Herb knows this, as a member of a new temple in Cincinnati, that I knew what new temples were like. But boy, was I surprised. So in the beginning, 30 years ago in Sarasota, there was a dream to include everyone, all with unique voices and experiences, all looking for family temple with the best Jewish education system in town. We came to know the dream as Temple Sinai, rather than the Temple Beth Hillel, the initial chosen name. I got to get my clicks going here. Hang on, guys.
Not a problem. Okay. Wow.
In early 1991, 5 families decided to create a new alternative to the then available Jewish religious institutions in Sarasota. Michelle and Mike Marcus, Gloria and Bill Weed, Lori and Scott Dreffen, Marcia and Jim Shuford, Ellen and Dick Weinberg. And in Warren Walheim's dinette store on 41, the trustees gathered one by one to shape the rules. Articles of incorporation were filed in March 25th, 1991.
What was that? Oh, March 25th.
Okay.
Got it. Sorry.
We'll have questions at the end, but write your notes. The first Temple Sinai function was a community Seder held at Hyatt Hotel on March 29th, 1991, attended by over 180 people. The service of beginning was held on April 19th, 1991, in Sarasota Manatee Jewish Community Center. More than 250 people attended. The gymnasium was transformed into a sanctuary. The Ark, designed and built by Carol and David Asher, and the old Union prayer books, and the Torah borrowed from Temple Beth Shalom. With loving care, the Ark, Torah, and prayer books were transported by a group of lay leaders whom we nicknamed the Sinai Schleppers, headed by Scott Dreffen and his truck, who provided transportations to many churches into a sanctuary with an onek. We had to have an onek. And then we thought, this temple needs a permanent rabbi. And so in time, a rabbi came. Aaron Kaplan was his name, and he started July 1st, 1991. With from the Jewish Community Center to Bee Ridge Office Center Suite to Universalist Church to Mennonite Church, go the wandering Jews of Temple Sinai. We certainly made the rounds of the churches, and our Sunday school classes were held at Cardinal Mooney High School. Thanks to a generosity of membership, sufficient funds and pledges were received to allow the acquisition of Kenilworth location from the Grace Baptist Church. Our first Torah was given to Temple Sinai by Temple Beth Jacob of Pontiac, Michigan, who was disbanded. Hold on. Temple Sinai conducted their first service in new home, 1802 Kenilworth Street, on November 1992. We shared the site with the Grace Baptist Church for over a year. This is the sanctuary, but I wanted to remind everybody, the Women of Sinai became an official committee in 1993 and has been an active and strong financial supporter ever since. Gloria Zwelling, the first president, and Marilyn Goldfarb in charge of fundraising. First fundraiser was to stock the empty kitchen. They had a kitchen shower and filled 15 tables with all the amenities needed to fill the cabinets for all the social needs. Sorry, I didn't have a picture of the temple, of the kitchen. So let's see. On December 1st, 1993, Jeffrey Hunting of Los Angeles, California, became Temple Sinai's next rabbi. In 1994, Temple Sinai was accepted as a congregation in process by the American Hebrew Congregation. I know my daughter told me to keep it short, but the Rabbi Kaplan had resigned. That's why we had an opening. Honoring Cantor and Evelyn Asher came up in 1996. He was there, they were there, a steady hand for cantor service and music and education. And they were in the process of retiring because this has been a long, hard trip. Also, annual meeting became a temple event with information and dinner in 1998. I think it got too big to continue doing that. The Seder of Hope was brought to Temple Sinai by the late Eve and Al Clark in honor of their son who died of AIDS. Jewish singer Julia Silver wrote "Walk With Me" in his honor. It was a Seder with family-made quilts hung on the wall in memory of those who had passed. And we filled it up for many years doing this. In 2001, Temple Sinai Religious School was overflowing. Our campus space needs were inadequate. The Kenilworth facility served us well, but its time had passed. Temple Sinai launched a capital and endowment campaign with Howard Rakin as chairman. On October 4th, we signed an agreement to purchase 9 acres of land at Lockwood Ridge. The 2003 past presidents were there for support. Wanted to make sure they were noticed. Michael Marcus, Murray Seitman, Lori Dreffen, Stuart Goldfarb, Fred Flom, Paula Spatalny, and Gwen Baseman. Groundbreaking. Let's see, where am I? Oh, yeah. Groundbreak, the new home was first time in 25 years, a new synagogue was built in Sarasota. We moved into our new facility in September 8th, 2005. Sorry, I read that too soon. Thank you for being part of the historical venture into Temple Sinai's past. If you have any questions, I open this to questions because my daughter told me to keep this. Oh, wait.
Short.
Quiet, keep it short. I got lots more information, but let me get up and stop sharing and I'm open for questions. Any question?
Yes, Stuart, where did Rabbi Copland come from? Was he living already in town?
Yes, he was. His wife had family here in town and he was here and he was sort of in between. So it was a nice appearance and we had to have a rabbi for our holidays and a few other things at the time, and it worked out, but it wasn't working out good for Aaron.
Oh, really? Does he still live in town? Do you know?
I have lost track. I thought they were in North Carolina, South Carolina the last I
Hey,
heard.
can you hear me? Can
Yeah.
you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yes, Rich, what's up? Well, we can't see you good. You're
Hi.
I
right.
know I can't see you good either, and I don't know why, but the Coplans live in the Landings in
Oh.
Eagles Point.
Okay.
Thank you.
He's very active and I see him walking around here also.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks for adding that. Is he up in age, Rich? Do you
well,
know?
he was up in age then, so.
Uh,
And you know, you're talking to me, so, you know, I'm up in age, so,
Hey, kiddo, so am I.
right, right.
I think Myrna or Herb have a question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a question for you is, I remember up north, it was always hard to find board members. Was there any problem getting board members down here where you got part-time snowbirds? How would you get a 12-month board member?
Wow, great question. Thank you. Yes, it was a little, as a board member myself, it was fairly easy for me to sort of slip in. But with snowbirds who were members and board members and past presidents of temples, they were very excited to lend their hand, but they also said, I'm only here for 6 months. So we started working on having portions or co-chairs so that we could continue throughout the whole year, especially with those of the snowbirds, and also those new people who were not quite familiar. We had to break jobs down into small parts. And once they started working, they said, oh, this isn't bad. I could do more than this. So it was a learning experience. People were banging on the door, but they said, I'm willing to do something for a month or two.
Interesting.
Yeah, Rich, I mean, not Rich, Stu.
Yes.
But when did the your bylaws and the whatever you call it started a temple? Because we have some bylaws that are really unusual that in my other temple was not like.
Thank you. The bylaws were incorporated in March 25th, 1991.
Wow.
But yes, there has been some changes to our
Oh, yeah.
bylaws as
I
we've
know
gone on.
that.
And I certainly was part of that when I was even on the board, where we did a few other changes. Part of this was the religious school was their prime beginning, and that's why they were going to call the place Temple Hillel, Beth Hillel. But they thought, after the thinking of the name, they said, that's not all encompassing. That's just talking about education part. And they thought they had to change the name again to Temple Sinai.
I thought that we not copied, but took large parts from Temple Emmanuel for our,
Well, that is true, but they modified some of it to make
Right,
sure
right.
that we were all encompassing, that there wasn't a problem with people who were part Jewish converts or not Jewish at all and wanted to join their family.
Well, I know that every year there's new bylaws. We do that at the congregational meeting. You know, I guess some people have said to me that we've given our board a lot of power, and in their old synagogues, that wasn't always the way. I said, well, this is what we inherited. That's what it was. So I guess the founding board members really wanted specific things for the board to do, you know, to deal
Well,
with.
we did have an executive board who made all of the bigger decision, came to the full board, and we wanted a full board because we needed all the participation we could have. And from there, they went to doing this. The executive board ended up being a little bit of a problem because they didn't explain or sell the ideas. They said, this is what we are going to do. And so the executive board pretty much was semi-eliminated and went to, we are going to do this and you will be participants in it. And some of our board meetings got to be lengthy. And it was that time, and I had trouble going with where we had send us your notes on email, and we had a fair amount, or at least 4 or 5 members who didn't even have email.
Wow. So
Yes, Harold Schwartz of blessed memory.
Thank
I
you.
remember that. Yes. We also, the problem with the executive board was that the other board members, I being one of them for a while, was, what am I doing here? You know, why am I going to a meeting when the next board takes care of it?
Rich, if you could move back a little bit, all we see is your glasses from up. We can't see your face, really. Maybe move.
Just your
Yeah,
head.
there you go.
Yay.
Good job.
Tilt the screen. There you go.
Well, you know what? I can't see me and I can't see you, but it's
Really?
okay. I can picture your sweet faces right now.
Well, we
So
can see you. You have your Temple Sinai shirt on. I see that.
that's for you, you know.
I
I'm
know it
wearing
is.
that for
Thank
you.
you. I didn't
Right,
even wear
right.
mine today.
Okay.
But Stu, you had a picture where people were seated. You know, was that, did I recognize Nancy Swart and Ray
Yes.
and then the Sharfs?
Here, I can't get back to it right now.
Yeah, I
was
could
that-
tell you all of those people. I know.
Was
all-
that also you and Marilyn too in that picture?
No.
No.
Oh, they weren't in that
Because,
picture.
as I said originally, we joined when we went to the service of beginning. This was the group that worked on the temple with and had the Passover Seder before they did the service. And that was more than the founding 5, or as I said, 5, 10, or 15. They had a sizable group that was now ready to go.
So that was from the Seder, that table? Is that what
No, that was after the Seder. That was when they not accepted and signed filed the articles of incorporation. They were all together to celebrate, we are now a new temple.
Mm.
But they didn't have a rabbi, they didn't have a location. So that's when, and from my background at Temple Shalom, right in Cincinnati, they had Frisch from Frisch's who had donated quite a bit of money. So they started out with a temple. Correct, Herb?
Yeah.
Was that correct?
Herb is muted.
Yeah, I had muted it for
Oh.
a cough. Yes, you're right.
Oh.
Frisch has had a big hand in it.
Yeah, and so I experienced that because they hauled me in when I was, I was 21 years old, and they drugged me in to be on the board. And one of the bylaws was to make sure that you had somebody in their 20s and their 30s on the board at all times, because the temple wise had people that were on there for years and years, and they said, we are not going to be like that.
Call that term limits.
I
What?
know some other place that could use term limits. Well, we do have term limits. So the
Yeah.
board has put that in. So is that from you guys? Because I think you can only, a vice president can only do maybe 4 years in a row. I know every year they make an exception for me. Perhaps they should stop.
But
But-
the original bylaws had term limits on serving office.
Wow. So we do that. It's 4.
Yeah, we
Four
have
co-
that.
4 consecutive years. Then you can leave for a year and then come back if you like. I forget when we shrunk the board, maybe in before 2016, I think it was. And that really works out well because all board members really participate in what we're doing. We don't have the executive, anymore. So,
But one of the reasons we wanted a big board and everybody there on the board is it spread the word. Everybody knew what was going on. Even though, as I've been reminded by a couple of past presidents, we had some board members that did very little until they learned how to adapt. That this was a way of getting people involved. We tried to set up an executive vice president and have it go in the chain, and it was booed and voted down immediately.
wow.
Because nobody wanted to be the next president.
Right. So now that's been eliminated because we do have the president-elect and
We
succession.
wanted it, but
So
everybody
the
said,
timing wasn't right, I guess.
there's a good point, yes.
Yep.
One of the interesting, and one of my people, somebody who's not here, I was going to have them ask a question, but talking about how it was to live sharing the temple with Grace Baptist Church. So
Yeah,
I'm asking my own question. It was rather interesting. It was because their offices at the temple were still in their same place. Temple Sinai was in, I think, a pastor's house, which was right on the other side of the parking lot. And that's where the office was. And they served from there. They would periodically have meetings with the pastor and the leaders and have who gets dibs for having the sanctuary and who has priority. And certainly Easter and a couple of those were priorities, but our high holidays became a priority and the church lived with it.
so
It
how
was
long were you partners with them?
It's over a year, but I don't remember the exact, I don't have it right in front of me, the exact time. They were building their temple out in East Bee Ridge, yeah.
Hmm.
But
Well,
it was nice because they were paying rent while we were establishing ourselves.
so that,
And when that time ended, it was holy cow, where's the money?
right,
So
I'm sure
then
that additional revenue was helpful. Yeah.
very helpful.
So, Stu, do you remember the rummage sales?
Oh,
What happened
God.
with those?
Well, that was part of how we were going to get money. And the first one was such a success, it became a boondoggle effect. It's okay. We had it in a small area in the reception.
Social hall.
Social hall, yeah. And then, oh my God, this is so good. We got to boom this up. We need the money. And it expanded to, and then it was, how can we get rid of this? The foot was finally put down. We got to end this because it has grown into, we are a rummage store, not a temple.
Yes,
Hmm.
we used to have 2 semi-trailers parked in the parking lot for everybody's debris. But we replaced it with the first ever Kol Nidre appeal, which everybody said it would never work, and it made twice as much money as the rummage sale.
Thank you. On that same point, when I became president, because they did the Conidra, but they didn't do any others, and it was a good Conidra, but we were still a little short on the budget. And that's when we said, okay, we're going to have a couple of other things besides the Conidra. And the gala came into effect.
Some things never get old, huh?
Well, I will tell you that I once took a tour of Israel from the Federation, and we went near Sfad. We went to a very old synagogue.
Right.
Of course, you know, we didn't have synagogues till after the Second Temple was destroyed. And that's pretty much when that synagogue was made. So it had a beautiful mosaic floor. And in the corner of the floor, there was some notation, some sort of Hebrew that we couldn't read. And the guide said, donated like by Marty Schwartz or something like that.
You know,
So, even then,
yeah.
you know,
Yes.
they were hitting up people.
You know, we were on a tour in Israel, and it was in the Negev down there. And we came to a tile floor with little mosaics. And my cousin read exactly, this was donated by. So Rich is 100% right. So it never stops. It's always been donations, fundraising. And that must be the nature of a game of a synagogue. You know,
Yeah.
I was thinking that myself. You reminded me, Rich, when you said that.
Thank you, Rich. I was in
Yeah.
that same temple, so I understand.
Maybe Zvi knows the name of that synagogue. It's very old. It's a ruin,
Right.
pretty
Up,
much.
yeah, but this was just the floor or something, and it was in the south. It was in the Negev.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to go through my first time in Israel with our son and daughter-in-law leading us around.
Well, when your son, the rabbi from
Yes.
California.
But he was a student then.
Oh, okay. Oh, then when he was studying.
Yes.
In,
But he'd already visited all of these places before we went.
yeah, yeah.
So when I joined, it was the old synagogue, and they got me on the ambassador corps. It was the
Right.
first time, and I would welcome people on Friday night as they walked in the door, and I would ask them who they were and how long you've been members and everything. And so I asked this, and I didn't know anybody. I mean, I was maybe 2 months a member, and I asked him, I said, oh, welcome, who are you and what do you do? And he pointed above my head, and their names were on the plaque. That is, you know, the charter members and stuff.
Yes, but when we did this with new members and greeters, we had greeters earlier, and we would pin the flower on all of the visiting people coming in. Now, that flower for the membership committee was, these are live people, get them into Temple Sinai.
Right.
Yeah, well,
But we
that's-
had fake flowers. We didn't have real flowers.
yeah, well, that has changed over the years too.
Anything else?
Because I'll tell you, a lot of people didn't want to wear the flower. They were afraid of getting pinned. We ran into a lot of negative with that. That is one reason we switched over
Yeah.
the paper.
It's
name.
before clips.
Yeah.
Yeah, but ours were, I had to buy a whole case of flowers. The fake ones, they look like poppies, like the veterans used to sell.
Oh, the red one. Oh,
But yeah, but it was bigger than that, but that idea, and it even had a little hook on it. And so we had plenty of these laying around, and we usually didn't have too many people that declined it.
well, times change, that's for sure.
The other thing, and something else that came up, oh wait, what was it? I had it on here someplace. Beg your pardon. when one of the comments about buying the temple in Kenilworth was a building to meet our needs appeared, though there was some of us who sneered, $1 million, what a steal. Let's ask membership how they feel. There was quite a few people that says that's way too expensive. Oh my God, we can't afford that. How are we going to do that? And in my presidency, we had, was it the county, Rich?
Which?
City or county? I forgot where Kenilworth is.
County, I think it's a
County.
Okay,
County.
county, okay. County had to run an easement for a pipe that was going to be buried mostly in our parking lot. And when they gave us the big check, and I don't know how much it was, we go, oh my God, we didn't realize our property was worth this much.
Well, it did help later on when you were selling it, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's when we, because I had the bright idea that we would remodel the temple when we were outgrowing, because part of it was a safety thing. We were an open campus. And we had people just sort of walking in from the other road to see what was going on or things like that. And it was, and we said, we got to do something. We got to put up a fence, all the different other stories. And I thought we could rebuild, make a double enclosed religious school at one section, then tie it together. And fortunately, we had some nice real estate people and others who reminded me that our temple would not pass code on anything. And if you attach any new building to it, you'll have to tear down the entire rest of the temple.
Mm.
Yeah, the school building we were using, all the classrooms had outside doors. So the kids that was sent out by themselves to go to the bathroom till some horrible thing happened someplace in the world. And the kids couldn't go out unless everybody went. They would have to take like the whole classroom to the
A
bathroom. at
bathroom
once.
break.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And there was some talk about black mold too. Some
So was
talk.
that a congregational decision or a board decision to buy the property over here, where we are
Well,
now?
Hey, Stu, let me talk about that,
Yeah.
okay? We had a very good board at the time, and they decided that the whole synagogue would have to decide what were we going to do. And so Richard, can't remember his last name, was a trainer type, an executive trainer.
Oh, yes.
And we had like a chartette, as the French call it. And we had 3 meetings over 4 months, congregational meetings, where he led us through a system of where are we, what do we want, how do we get it, how much would it cost, etc. And it came down to 3 choices. And that was fix up what we had, build a new social hall school and attach it to the sanctuary, move someplace. And move someplace was much, much more expensive because we didn't know that the land that we were on was worth over $2 million. We
Right.
didn't find that out till later. And so overnight, we had plans already to build a social hall and attach it to the sanctuary. And overnight, after we found out that the land was worth money, we went to, hey, let's get out of here, let's move someplace else. And then Nancy Swart found the land, or Herb and Nancy Swart found the land. And then we raised over $2 million, which the professional fundraisers thought we'd raise about $1 million, but somehow we got 2 million plus, and we got a mortgage, and that's the way we were able to build where we are.
Thank you, Rich. I was part of that in the beginning, pushing for joining the temples together. And we had that discussion, and that's when they found out we can't meet zoning laws. So that idea is not going to work and still not have an open campus.
Right.
You could build a separate building and say, okay, that's that, but the rest of us are going to be over here. That's when we found out with the money where they easement property, this property is really worth something. Of course, the other thing is the person that was going to buy our land was also our builder, right?
Yes, we used them to build a new one, and they gave us some really, really good terms, excellent terms. It was not a miracle, but it was a good thing.
Half acre, wasn't it half acre?
No.
No, it was his son,
Six.
quarter acre.
Which, oh, is a quarter acre? Wait,
He's being silly.
it was bigger than that. We had a lake on our property that nobody paid any attention to. That was
Wait
the
a
parking
second.
lot.
Nobody knew it was there.
So we had Lakeview property that was sitting there.
We thought we just had a small parking lot across the street. That's all.
Rather amazing, and lots of different fun, but all of this, especially in the beginning, and like I say, I've had two where I was sort of in the beginning, temples, is there's a excitement when everybody does that, and then you have the naysayers who say, no, we can't do that. But a good thing is that those that said, yes, we can, yes, we could do this, were either louder or more persuasive and said, yes, we can do this. And they went right on and I said, to buy $1 million property, our membership said, half of them said, wonderful, we're going to go. And the rest were saying, oh my God, we're going to be so much in debt, we won't know what we're going to do.
Right. We had a permanent seat on the board for a curmudgeon. Somebody who would just say, no, no.
Well, you always have that, so, you know.
By the way, I don't know if the board, I know when I was president, I instituted good and welfare because.
Still doing it.
Okay,
Still
good.
doing it.
Because we were leaving the meeting, well organized, boom, boom, boom. People had a few times to talk and they discussed a little bit and then they were gone because the meetings were too long. And then we had a whole group of just members on the board who said, I didn't get a chance to say anything. What happened to this? And what happened? Well, I don't get a chance to talk. I don't even want to go to those board meetings. So that's when we decided we better make them a little bit longer, but have good welfare, but with a limit on how long you can talk.
Do you remember when we used to have board reports written on the back of paper napkins and things?
Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's when, and yeah, I definitely did. And we'd have somebody rambling on with, oh, and by the way, I said, we are going to have written reports before we have a meeting. So everybody, and as you mentioned, several will email them in. And so we'll have all the reports here. Everybody will be able to see the reports before we go on to other things.
Right. Well, we still do that. That's ever since I've been on the board.
But we had to change that. And then I had Harold and about 3 others would have to deliver their report to the temple.
Wow.
Right.
And they would send it out.
Wow. Huh. So the good and welfare, Stu, your administration started that. That's good to know.
Well, it was because of protest. I'm not coming to any more meetings. I'm sitting here and things are going on and you say this has happened and I don't even remember it. And so at least they had a chance. And of course, we still had an executive board, but we tried to do it where they got the information out before they had a meeting.
Because our good and welfare, we adjourn our meeting and then we go around to everybody, good and welfare.
Right.
That's what we do.
Yes.
And when I first got on the board, I think we had stories or your Jewish history. It was one member a month. And
Yes.
that was, I forget who ended that.
It was at the beginning, though.
Yeah, that was part of the board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was part of the board and.
But
the
I
rabbi-
forget when that was eliminated and there are times we've started with different things just to making it different and,
They're
know.
called, now they're called icebreakers.
right, but we don't do any of that anymore.
Really, really, that's
No,
what it's
but
called
it
now.
was required that we have this initially. And it was usually the rabbi that would give us a religious thought for the beginning of our meeting. So
We
that
have a
weren't
prayer, we
just
have a prayer,
Well, it was more than a prayer. It was a Devar Torah,
right.
a little. But it was so that we wouldn't be just another business organization.
Right.